Hi, I'm Greg Weimer, CEO of Confluence Financial Partners, and welcome to Conversations with Confluence. I have two of my associates here today to help out with the discussion. Bill Winkler, who is the Chief Investment Officer, and he is a CFA and CFP, so he leads up our Investment Advisory Committee with portfolio construction. And then we have Chuck Zuzak, who's the Director of our Wealth Planning Department, and he has the exact same designations, which are difficult to get, CFA and CFP. So, and he does the financial planning, and really these folks work closely with our financial advisors as we serve our families that we have the privilege to work with. But so let's do it this way. For the listeners, we'll do three things. Why don't we, first of all, give you a glimpse, and when you're working with financial planners, because portfolio construction is more than just basic asset allocation, right? So we're going to dig into a little bit of how we construct portfolios and how you work with your team and how we think we do it a little differently. And then also Chuck can talk about, how we do comprehensive financial planning, because we see so many folks out there and they're doing calculators basically. It's really not in depth or customized. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
There you go.
Yeah. So the way the investment team at Confluence works with our advisors is kind of twofold. One, behind the scenes, the team works closely with our investment advisory committee. We have 7 individuals from across the firm in different positions that provide oversight and ongoing management of our client portfolios. We meet at least every other week, plus a couple of meetings that are intentional where we go offsite a couple times a year. And that really provides a deep dive into what's happening in the portfolios, importantly, how things are developing in the market, where there are opportunities. But ultimately, we're looking and sitting back and saying, hey, how can we apply some basic principles that we truly believe in? And everyone has their principles, but we have 5 that we think we really do a good job implementing. A big one such as unbiased.
The unbiased is interesting also, because I also think of some of the offsites we do, where someone may say, hey, what about this alternative investment? And instead of just saying, like, we don't do that, we do a deep dive and we say, does that make sense? And many times it doesn't, but at least we know why it doesn't.
And then the committee itself is interesting in terms of its composition. We have myself, full-time investment professionals who also work with clients. We have financial advisors. They're ultimately understanding the impact of these decisions on their clients. So it's that EQ, the emotional intelligence, and a lot. They're frankly very experienced too from an investment perspective. And then we have firm leadership, individuals like Greg, who from their perspective of being a leader in the industry can understand really where there's big changes happening and ultimately how that can impact portfolios.
Also allows us to allocate resources quickly, right? If we're involved. So Chuck, you want to take us into an overview of what comprehensive really means and how it may differ? Because I think we do it somewhat uniquely.
Yeah, I think the wealth planning process in general starts with, understanding the client's story. So what are their goals? What are their values? What are their priorities? And in other words, what are the things that they're trying to accomplish? What drives them? And what are the things that we should help them tackle first? And I think when we look at that process, we can look at it from a number standpoint, but that really is just the starting line, right? We're working with the advisors to better understand their clients. What are some of the things that they want to accomplish? And then how can we craft a plan, not only from a financial planning standpoint, but a tax standpoint, state standpoint. There's a lot of clients that have philanthropic objectives. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing from an overarching theme to help get them to that finish line? And I think that's a process that, we're doing with advisors day in, day out. And that's not only just behind the scenes, but that's frequently also collaborating with the advisors in meetings with their clients.
We'll be doing a meeting together tomorrow with the family we're serving, right? Absolutely. So we prepared yesterday for the meeting tomorrow, and you'll be very additive in that discussion. So, it's really fortunate that I think we're a unique size, because I think we're a unique size that we're big enough to have all the resources that we need, yet we're small enough that the clients, you have a relationship with the advisor. It's not like, we're giving this money to some person to manage that we don't know who they are. And you communicate with the advisors on a regular basis. So the way it works, we have a client we're working in right now, a newer family with us. So the way it works is when a client comes in and they're looking for a second opinion, which we do often, is, we'll send the statements over to Bill and his team, and they do a full analysis of the portfolio and see if it checks out. Sometimes there seems to be a strategy. Sometimes it's hard to figure out. And then Chuck will do a deep dive into the estate planning, the tax planning, do an analysis of their tax return. So by the time the advisor, in this case it's me, sits down with the client, we have a full overview of the portfolio and a full overview of the financial plan, and that's valuable. So the other valuable part, I think, that we can just touch on, we're a hockey team, not a golf team. So in so many places, I think the listeners would be surprised how some firms work in silos. Like, here's the financial planning department. Sometimes it's just the advisor trying to do all of it. I don't know how that works, but sometimes there's the financial planning. We've worked with firms that I've seen this. There's the financial planning department, and then there's the investment department, and they don't really communicate. Do you want to talk about just how you guys collaborate for the benefit of the client?
Yeah, I mentioned our 5 investment principles, and it's really in our DNA to work closely with our wealth planning team. Two of the other principles that are directly tied to what's happening on the wealth planning side are being objective based and also being tax aware. So being objective based, we our advisors will not sit across the table from a prospective client or a current client and just say, hey, this allocation makes the most sense. Spit it out of a calculator. Here you go. They work really closely with the wealth planning team. So that's kind of two-pronged, where I was literally just working on one. We provide the investment analysis, but it doesn't really matter without the context of what's happening on the wealth planning side with the financial plan. So there won't be a recommendation without understanding what's happening on the wealth planning side. And then again, tax efficiency. If you have taxable accounts, especially this time of the year, it's very important to have an understanding of what your portfolio looks like from a tax efficiency perspective. So it's really in our DNA to work closely between investments and wealth planning.
Yeah, I think, again, understanding what the client's objectives are, or if we can provide a strategy that makes sense and it's something that they can implement. As an example, if from a tax standpoint, we think it makes sense to harvest capital gains because the client's in a lower bracket, then I'm going to go over to Bill and his team and say, okay, here's the portfolio that we need to start working through. What do you recommend we do to get it back in alignment with, the client's objective? Because sometimes we get clients with portfolios that are a bit of a hot mess, right? And our objective is to better align it with
I tried to say it
strategy.
nicer. I said, like, there wasn't easy to find a strategy, but
Yeah.
we'll go with hot mess at times.
Yeah. Or, on the other end of the spectrum, I think we see clients with really big legacy goals.
Yeah.
And, they might have a particular investment account or asset earmarked for that legacy. So what are we doing to support that, legacy goal? Can we grow this portfolio in a way that, leaves a larger legacy, but also leaves them financially secure with the other things that we're doing in their financial plan?
Yeah. And they work closely with the advisors because the advisor really, they're the point guard, right? They're the ones that organize everything. But having the both of you, I think, is unique that, you're a certified financial planner and a chartered financial analyst. So you understand the planning side. You're a chartered financial analyst and a certified financial. So you understand the investment side and vice versa. And I really do think that works to the advantage of the clients. Do you want to just, it's a unique time of the year, the end of the year. It tends to be a very busy planning and investing time. Do you want to talk about some of the things that our listeners should be thinking about that are timely today?
Yeah, from a tax planning standpoint, from the investment side, again, in conjunction with what's happening with your financial plan, it's kind of twofold. One, capital gain distributions. It's that time of the year. You're going to see estimates coming out. And they've, for U.S. Mutual funds, equity mutual funds, the last couple of years have been closer to high single digits, and doesn't look like it'll be any different this year. So again, you'll have, essentially a mandatory tax liability that you'll get paid out. So what to do with that? Maybe you can't sell it. Maybe you should consider, if you have charitable intentions, thinking about gifting that. It's something that we work closely together on. So that's one example.
It's really important. A lot of times people just reinvested their cap gains, and historically that's what you did because there really wasn't that many options. But now, we're taking cap gains in cash, in a lot of cases where it makes sense, reinvesting them into ETFs, which were potentially more tax efficient in the long run. So there's things that we've been doing. Now's the time to do it. And we're starting to see some of the estimates and cap gains, which I saw those top 50. It's mind boggling. So if you're not paying attention to that, seize the moment. Now's the time you really should. Anything from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the season where we're spending a lot of times with our families, whether it's, Thanksgiving or Christmas or any other holidays that you may celebrate. And I think it's a good time to think about your estate plan. That's something that frequently clients will set it and forget it. And that's something we want to revisit as your advisors, to have you think about, okay, what happens if I'm not here, or, this is how I want to take care of my family. Am I really doing that with the plan that I have now? And so we want clients to really think carefully about that, or maybe they don't really understand it, and that's where we can step in and help them. So
yeah, it is amazing how much of the money that's inherited could be squandered, how much of it could cause a dispute, unfortunately, in families. It breaks up families, doesn't really always bring them together. So communication is key. We do a lot of family meetings, so that the families we serve can receive this money, and it'll be a blessing to future generations and not a burden that people end up not speaking about. So, and in conjunction, you mentioned, Bill, but it's also a wonderful time to talk about, maybe at a family level, maybe at an individual level, really thinking about charitable, whether it's using some of those highly appreciated mutual funds before they pay the capital gain to gift that and get the write-off. And there's some things changing this year. You're seeing in the press about the big, beautiful bill and how some of the things with philanthropy are changing.
yeah, I mean, especially from a gifting standpoint, we're talking to some clients now about accelerating those gifts to this year as opposed to delaying until next year, because there's going to be some, I would call them tax headwinds in terms of the advantages of doing delayed gifting. So some of those clients, we want to say, let's do those gifts this year. And that could be to a donor advised fund, or outright to certain charities, whatever vehicle makes sense. But we're having those conversations now. And, some of the other things with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is that some of those changes to the tax laws were actually retroactive to this year. So plans that we were working on early in this year, we are revisiting to see, are there things that we could do better, or are there some tax efficiencies that we can capture before the end of the year?
Wonderful. Well, thanks, guys. I just wanted to, do a quick overview of a peek under the tent on how we do planning and how we do investing, and then how you work together. Really important. Then a couple things to think about. One of our challenges in doing this is there's so much we could talk about. And you try to do it in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, so people can listen in bite sizes. But there's a lot we could talk about, and there's a lot we want to talk about. So, and we would love to have the opportunity, if you're a current client and you would like to dig deeper into any of the things that we're talking about, or if there's some way we can help you, please reach out. We'd love to have the conversation. If you're new and you're not working with Confluence, we'd love to do a second opinion. We'll take you through the planning, and we'll analyze your portfolio. And hey, maybe at the end of the day, you're like, I feel better about what I have and I'm good. That's great. That's a win. Or maybe we could add value through our planning process and investment process. So if we can help you, would be delighted to continue the conversation, or someone you care about, please have them call. Or you can call us 724-271-8801, or you can come to confluencefp.com and schedule a meeting. But we certainly appreciate the time, and we're going to keep working hard to continue to earn your business trust and respect. So thank you.